Hey guys, welcome back to Razor RC. Just want to shoot a quick little video on my Hobao Hyper TT, talking about its current setup. It's basically set up for my local indoor clay track, and I've kind of hit a wall, I guess you'd say, about tuning wise, and probably not really going to make any more changes to try to tune it any better for my local track. It's kind of about as good as I think I can get it without making like serious changes. So just want to talk about current setup, what I've got running, and then hopefully this will help you guys. And it's just to kind of document the truck in its current state before I make some more changes. I'm basically going to turn it into a basher after this. You know, we don't really race four-wheel drive truggies at anywhere, so I've decided to kind of turn it into a basher. So this is the last setup video I guess I'm going to do for indoor clay, and then probably talk about bashing if it turns out that this makes a good basher. So just want to go through the truck real quick, show you what I've got going, and then it's going to change from there. So here it is, the Hobao Hyper TT, and most of the stuff I already kind of talked about in different videos, but I just want to walk through it real quick, show you what I've got going. So this truck, shock wise, I'm running stock kit silver springs up front, low C 2.5-inch blue springs in the rear. Shock oil wise, I've got 35 in the front and 27.5 in the rear. And in the rear, I'm actually running 1.5 millimeters of shock limiters, and basically what that does is limit droop so that the rear arms basically don't hang down quite as much. And that 1.5 millimeters of shock limiters basically helps the truck not endo quite as much, kind of limits how much weight will transfer to the front of the truck under braking, makes it a little more stable under braking. I found that was about the right amount. 1 millimeter would probably also work. 2 would probably be a little too much. And then the shock limiter also basically will limit the droop rather than using the droop screws. These droop screws that are here in the arms, I found actually kind of weaken the arms and make them a little more prone to breakage. So I recommend you do not use the droop screws on the arms front and rear. Just use some shock limiters instead if you need them. So that's what I got shock wise. And then diffs wise, I'm running 10K in the front, 40K in the center, which seems about perfect to me, and then 7K in the rear. I tried 10K, I tried 5K in the rear. 10K was a little too much, a little too pushy. 5K was a little too loose. So 7K is working out pretty good for me. And then ride height wise, I've got 26 millimeters of ride height front and rear, and that's underneath the chassis here. Measure the front and the back, not underneath this bumper. So that's pretty much what I've got ride height wise. And then aftermarket accessories wise, I've got the T-bone bumper, obviously, that I highly recommend. I've actually gone back to the stock plastic steering knuckles here rather than using the Integy aluminum ones, because the Integy ones were just kind of limiting the steering a little bit. So what I did end up doing was basically boiling these, and I've been running them, and they're actually held up. So I think you get away with using the stock plastic steering knuckles if you boil them. They seem at least semi-durable. I haven't broken one yet since I've put them on, so I think that they're going to work out okay. And then other stuff I've modified, as you've probably seen in my other videos, I'm running B5M steering links. I'm running Traxxas rear turnbuckles, and then this is, I think, an RC10 drag link that I'm using here, just so I actually can use turnbuckles on these guys. I don't like using hex drivers like the stock turnbuckles require. Up top, I've got an Integy aluminum top plate there, and then I think that's pretty much it modification wise. I'm also running the rear CVAs instead of the stock dog bones, just for reliability. And so overall, the truck's actually fairly stock, nothing too crazy going on here. And so it's been working out pretty well for me. The other changes I made are basically spacing on the upper and lower arms. On the top, I've actually got the arms scooted all the way to the back. And then, so basically all the spacers here in the front of the arms. Underneath, I've got the arms, a little bit hard to tell, but basically all the spacers are in the back, so that pushes the front arms all the way forward. In the rear, it's not quite as aggressive. I've basically got a 1 millimeter spacer in the front of the car, and then 2 millimeter spacer in the rear of the arms. And then obviously, as you can tell, I've got the rear arms swapped. So basically, I flip the arms, running the shocks forward. This actually reduces toe-in on the rear from 5 degrees down to 3 degrees. I think there's about 1 degree of toe-in just from the arms. So if you flip them, you get a lot more normal 3 degrees of rear toe-in. And then up front, I'm running 2 degrees of toe out. So a little bit of toe out, that gives you a little more steering. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much setup-wise what I've got. It's running pretty good. You know, it's still not perfect. And so the 3 things that are kind of limiting it from getting better that you know, I haven't really found a good solution for is A, there's just not enough steering travel left to right. That's going to be hard to fix without either getting a new steering rack, or maybe mounting a different front end on this truck. So that's kind of a hard thing to solve. Second thing that's kind of hard to solve is that there's not a whole lot of spring selection for this truck. Front springs silver, rear springs low sea blue. Those are pretty much as stiff as you can get, and they're barely adequate, I would say. You know, I'd like to try stiffer springs, but nobody really makes anything. These shocks are not the modern, you know, 12 millimeter big bore shocks. These are kind of small bore shocks, and so these springs don't really come in a wide variety of different tensions. So these work okay, but I'd really like to try something stiffer for, you know, high traction surfaces. And then, so the last thing that's been kind of limiting me is the sway bar selection. So I flipped the rear arms just to get rid of some of that toe in, but the problem with that is you can't use the stock sway bars anymore. And the second thing is the stock sway bars are way too thick. I think you're going to need something a lot thinner. So they're just way too stiff. So you really can't use stock sway bars without doing some modifications, and I think this thing could really use some sway bars just to kind of limit the roll a bit. So those 3 things, springs, sway bars, and the front steering lock left to right are just not quite there, and those are going to be kind of hard to solve. But so what I basically decided to do is turn this into more of a basher. So this is kind of the last incarnation of my indoor high traction clay version of the truck, and I'm basically going to turn it into a basher, run on some like BMX tracks. Maybe I've got a little local outdoor dirt track I can run on right by my work. So that'll be my next tuning exercise, and we'll see how that goes. So hopefully this video was interesting. You know, that's my current setup. It's basically to provide kind of a baseline for you guys that are running either on clay or on the street, or maybe even on higher grip surfaces like AstroTurf or carpet. And from there, I'm basically going to turn into something different. So I hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Look for a new video soon, and then you know, this thing will be a little different the next time you see it. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.